Jim Bakker, a televangelist, was sentenced to 45 years on charges of rape and fraud. But he was released after 5 years and is still selling end-of-world products.
I'm not going to let people turn me back. You can make fun of me, that's okay.
A more complicated scandal erupted when George Bush appointed Justice Samuel Alito, who he delivered the result of a case to Rob Schenck, an evangelical priest.
Evangelical brothers and sisters, Supreme Court decisions, state law, these are not sources of moral, ethical, or spiritual light.
In a leaked voice recording, Alito said he believes living together with non-evangelicals was not possible.
One side or the other is going to win. Living together peacefully, it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be talked about us.
These scandals showcase the enormous influence of evangelicals on the U.S. judiciary. Evangelicals in the United States constitute slightly more than 10% of the country's population, but their voice is louder than any other religious group. So, who are they and what do they really want? A threat to the U.S. democracy?
You realize that the Founding Fathers believed that democracy was the worst form of government?
A call for the creation of so-called Greater Israel?
God says the borders of Israel are the Euphrates River. There is no Euphrates River in heaven.
An act of violence?
Fake news no more!
In fact, a combination of all but definitely an undemocratic approach favoring the Bible and their understanding of the U.S. Constitution. The U.S., which has long been proud to have accommodated people of various faiths living together in peace, is now falling into the hands of Christian groups with extremist views.
Leave this country! We don't need you!
Within the last 40 years, the number of organizations engaged in religious lobbying increased fivefold. 1 in 5 religious advocacy organizations in the U.S. are evangelical. Initially steering clear of politics, evangelicals began to raise their voices in the 1970s when the U.S. government started introducing laws to encourage racial equality. So the evangelicals' first political concern was that Black Americans were gaining a place in the society. As of the 1980s, under the leadership of televangelists like Jerry Falwell and Billy Graham, they started acting as a community and aligned with the Republican Party. Of course, 9/11 was an opportunity for them to raise their voices even louder.
Speak a blessing to him. Once you do that, raise your hand to speak a blessing to him.
And finally, Donald Trump's policies swept their votes.
I would like to thank the evangelical and religious community.
As evangelicalism became more institutionalized, evangelicals gained visibility through various channels such as Hobby Lobby stores founded by David Green, who was involved in smuggling thousands of ancient artifacts from Iraq into the U.S. via Israel. What makes evangelicals different from other religious groups is their cohesive voting strategy. For instance, an overwhelming majority of evangelicals have continued to vote for Republican candidates throughout years. Also, they have powerful lobbies including Moral Majority, the Family Research Council, Christians United for Israel, and others. Evangelicals working with AIPAC, the majority of whom support Democratic Party candidates, take the opposite side and spend millions on Republicans. AIPAC, the largest pro-Israel U.S. lobby, even helped this man form Christians United for Israel.
Today, there are more than 10 million plus Christians across the United States of America who are warriors standing against anti-Semitism and people who are committed to loving Israel and the Jewish people. Jewish people, you are not alone. The evangelical community is with you.
Their lobbying efforts succeeded in getting Trump to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem.
And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals.
In states where evangelicals comprise a significant number of voters, politicians have to craft their policies accordingly. For instance, Neil Parrott of Maryland suggests that the U.S. should fight with Israel.
We have to stand alongside Israel, and we need to fight with them.
Another example is Don Bacon, who received $250,000 from pro-Israeli and evangelical lobbies. He said he had a spiritual connection with Israel. Evangelicals are also the biggest donors to their own churches, with donations amounting to 4% of their income. In other words, evangelical churches, which are tax-exempt, raise millions of dollars every year. Some of this money ends up in Israel, which they see as a way of hastening Armageddon, an end times prophecy that they believe will bring about the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Friends, this is Pastor Benny Tate, and I want to invite you to join me for the trip of a lifetime. We're going to Israel.
Evangelicals attempt to bring a kind of theocracy to the U.S., while supporting Israel's genocidal war on Gaza and its occupation of Palestine. They have also continued to undermine the independence of the U.S. judiciary system. With Americans set to vote soon, Trump's potential re-election will likely further boost evangelical influence on U.S. politics.
In the end, we do not answer to bureaucrats in Washington. We've lost religion in our country.